A poll was conducted some years back that asked the question, who is the greatest man in history? Top of that list came Muhammad, peace be upon him, surprisingly in a poll in which the participants were not all Muslims. Why is this question even relevant for us today? Well, in a world where man has excelled in progress through science and technology, but where societies have broken down, where figures of influence and reference like leaders, politicians, celebrities, religious figures are seen as opposite of being role models, one needs to look to someone for guidance and reference, which is a natural instinct. So history is a good place for us to start, as looking back one can learn lessons from mistakes or for solutions today. So today we will examine, present and articulate why the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the greatest man in history and for the future. So let us start with why is he ﷺ the greatest man. He was born in 6th century Arabia, modern day Saudi Arabia. He was illiterate but came from a noble family and was known even before prophethood as the truthful one, Al-Amin. Throughout his life he exemplified the best in every aspect of a man, whether that was as a father, husband, judge, military leader, political ruler, statesman, teacher. But it is not from this we wish to argue the greatness, for any man with the previous mentioned qualities would be a role model in their time. But what impact have they left? What have they contributed in their time and for the future? For it is the legacy from which to judge someone's greatness. Muhammad ﷺ, the final prophet, was born into the Bani Hashim tribe on the 9th of Rabi al-Awwal. Even before prophethood, he was an exemplary man within the Quraysh. He ﷺ was known amongst his people for modesty, virtuous behaviour and graceful manners. The people by consent gave him the title Al-Amin, the trustworthy one. After the Prophet ﷺ received revelation, this however changed as the Prophet ﷺ started addressing the problems within the Quraysh society and offering new solutions. This had a profound impact and changed Arabia and the world forever. In 6th century Arabia, the whole society was riddled with many problems. Quraysh was a tribal society. The bond of kinship and tribes overruled any other considerations. A petty thing like drinking water for the camels could be a cause for feuds and bloodshed between tribes, and it could last generations after generations. One tribe hated another tribe on the basis of lineage, race and other disputes. Slaves, especially black Abyssinian or other slaves from different countries, were treated in the worst manner. It was because of this tribe mentality that it was deemed so worthless in the eyes of the then superpowers, the Romans and the Persians, that they did not even bother to rule this territory. Similarities exist today, such as nationalism and racism, where countries hate one another, like Pakistanis and Bengalis hating one another even though both are Muslims. And it goes even further, where local regions hate one another, like Siletis hating Moli Bazar. This goes further with villages hating villages, and this is simmering all the time. The way Islam changed the mindset of the people was that people on the basis of belief and belief alone were judged. Arab and non-Arab became brothers. A black slave became equal to their masters. People were judged on the basis of their merit, not on the basis of their color or tribe. Women were seen as not equal to human beings. They were seen as a cause of shame to the family. As a result, infant girls used to be buried alive. A woman could be inherited like other objects, while she had no right to inherit. She didn't have any say in the social and political affairs. However, Islam recognized her as a human being, equal to men, as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It elevated her to the highest status, as the hadith alluded to, that paradise lies under the feet of the mother. She as a daughter was seen as a symbol of blessings, and parents are encouraged to look after her well. She was given the right to inherit. She participated in voting to select the ruler. She became an educator, jurist, and even accounted the rulers. 1400 years later, despite Islam elevating the status of women and giving them their due rights, women in modern societies are still fighting for their rights and trying to come out of being second-class citizens. Prostitution is rife, the women being used as a selling object for goods and services, teenage pregnancies, honor killings, forced marriages are all too common. In lands where they champion women's rights, we still find many feminist, anti-discrimination and rights organizations. One of the main sources of income for Quraysh was trading and the caravans that used to pass via Mecca during the pilgrimage season. In the marketplace, traders used to cheat the customers by overpricing and manipulating the weights, or via lying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed this type of cheating in the Quran.
وَيْلٌ لِّلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَو وَّزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ.
Casting lots and gambling was widespread to settle disputes and gain power over others. There was a business of soothsayers, diviners, and astrologers who made money on people's weaknesses and in their times of need. The economy was based on usury. Rich people used to lend money to the poor and charge them many times more interest. The Islamic system grants all its citizens access and incentives for pursuing luxuries while guaranteeing basic needs for the less able. It also liberates the Ummah from slavery and colonialism in all its forms, whether that be loans with interest or control over Muslim resources. Islam provides unique laws regarding energy, taxation, investment, currency, agriculture and industry, which enable individuals to take their share without depriving others. Islam assigns energy resources as public property. Neither the state nor individuals can usurp its benefit for themselves. Instead, Islam ensures that the entire public benefits from the wealth. The currency in the Islamic State is based on gold and silver, allowing the currency of a country to prevent the rise of prices, which the fiat currencies of today produce. Islam guides us to use our wealth carefully and not use wealth and acquire wealth via haram means, as we will be accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every action that we do. The ruling in Mecca was based on notability, elitism and caste. A few notables ruled collectively and benefited their own tribes. Slavery was established. Tribes were given certain roles and duties. Their laws and solutions were for themselves. They had a tribe protection system and a society based on idol worship. As we can see from all around the world, the common man has lost faith in their leaders and the systems under which they live. From dictatorships to elected corrupted officials to family-run monarchs, all have led this ummah to misery, where positions are given not on merit, but rather on who you know and how much money you can buy influence with. Unaccountability is almost non-existent. The laws and rules that are legislated are there to serve the interests of a few and oppress the majority, indirectly or directly, as their decisions affect every aspect of our lives. In the Muslim world, the same old parties and policies continue to rule with election, violence, intimidation and failed short-term policies, where it's about how much the ruling parties can siphon off to offshore bank accounts. It is all too apparent from around us that justice is not being served. Crime is rampant, with the youth all too engrossed, as they have no vision for life and come from broken families. The deterrents to crime seem more like reward. And this has all led the people to take matters into their own hands, to call for the return of hangings and death penalties. In the Muslim world, if you have the right money and connections, judges and other officials can be bought, while the justice system is rampant with torture, with miscarriages of justice and some people waiting years for the case to be brought to trial. In Muslim countries, policemen can be bought off, and even to get out of airports, crooked officials must be paid bribes, showing that the whole judicial system and structure is about the survival of the fittest. In this system, man defines what is right and wrong, so corrupt individuals realize that they can make their corruption above the law. Our countries are tied to the hip, and every last drop of wealth is sucked out by tools and plans of the IMF and the World Bank. Leaders in the Muslim world via the judiciary manipulate their term in office by staying in power for decades and gaining immunity from persecution on crimes committed whilst in office. Yet countries like America and Saudi Arabia have death penalties, yet people still feel justice has not been carried out. In Islam, the ruler, i.e. the Khalifa, is held to account by the people. The Khalifa has no right to remove the judge that is judging upon a case against him. In contrast, in the Khilafah system, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sole true sovereign. So the rulings of Sharia defines crime and sets the criteria for judicial rulings. It is on this unique basis that judges provide justice to the public. So there is no division of civil courts and Sharia courts in Khilafah, for all the courts issue verdicts according to the laws of Islam. The Khilafah will end this pitiful situation because the verdict of the court is final. No other court or even the Khalifa can overturn that verdict unless it contradicts a definite ruling in Islam over which there is no difference of opinion, or the judge has rejected a definite ground reality without any reason. In such a case, the case will be referred to the court of unjust acts. In this way, the public is provided immediate justice without a huge burden on the courts, and criminal elements will live in fear that immediate sentencing will occur. In Islam's judiciary, a suspect is considered innocent until proven guilty, so there is no room for putting one in jail. It is the duty of the plaintiff or the security departments to prove that the suspect is guilty, or the case will be immediately quashed, except if the judge, after scrutiny of some evidence of the crime, has suspicion that the suspect will become a fugitive. And even in such limited cases, the suspect will be released without having to provide bail upon provision of witnesses to his innocence. In Islam's Khilafah system, no man is above the law or accounting, even if one is a ruler or judge. The Qadi Muzalim of the Court of Unjust Acts can hear cases against rulers for any policy they implement, and the Qadi Muzalim has the right to punish or dismiss any ruler. So, in this short time, we have listened to the argument that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ being the greatest man that history has seen and the future is likely to see. We can conclude from what we should judge the greatness of any man, which is the legacy they have left behind. Having great technology, knowledge of sciences will accommodate and help mankind, but to come up with an idea, a belief, a system, a way of life that can unite mankind, solve her problems, push man to achieve the highest levels of thinking and material progress, surely this is the greatest of all things. And Muhammad ﷺ did this in a humble, simple and uncomplicated way. He was chosen to be the prophet that brings the answers to man's questions. Even though he lived only to the age of 63 and is a prophet for only 23 years, it was not necessary for him to live forever. For he ﷺ said, "I leave you two things. If you hold on to it, you won't go astray. The Quran and the Sunnah." Again, in a short presentation, we have tried to put forth our points, but the life of Muhammad ﷺ should be read, analysed, contemplated upon, for if this is done, the darkness that mankind finds himself in today will see a light.